Now, in terms of the police, because there does seem to be an issue here with the police and the black community. This is from what I've casually observed. How would you address this issue?
Yeah.
As somebody that we make Candace Owens president tomorrow, what do we do? Do we demilitarize the police? Do we de-incentivize? No, we don't. Well, isn't there a way to demilitarize them? Because I'm not saying defund them, but do we need for the police to be like stormtroopers running around the country, kicking down doors because somebody might be smoking a joint? There's got to be a way to rein the police in a little bit, no?
Let's be clear. The police are not kicking down your door because you're smoking a joint. Okay, so that's like leftism fantasy land. Like, I'm just smoking a joint, and the police always just kick down the door, and because they're just like military right now. Like, come on, that's ridiculous. Like, maybe you're a drug dealer and you happen to be smoking a joint, and the police came at that moment. But let's be real about that. Secondly, I have this crazy idea.
I'm trying. Keep going.
I'm just smoking a joint, man. I just came in here, guns a waving. But what I will say, I'm a big believer in teaching your kids to respect police officers. So if somebody can point to me to the case this year where the person who we saw being, aggressively pursued by the police was listening to the police officers' instructions, then I would say, okay, maybe we do have an issue with police officers. Every single case that is brought to the public forefront, the thing that never gets discussed is why couldn't this person listen to police orders? And I mean, we're not talking about like the police snapped on I'm talking the police officer is saying 18, 20, 30 times, giving them an instruction and they don't do it. And they keep coming towards the police officer. A police officer's life needs to be protected too. And these people are crazy. What we saw in Philadelphia with that guy, Walter Wallace, wielding a knife. I mean, and still Black Lives Matter protested and rioted and looted. And because he was shot and killed, as he should have been shot and killed because he tried to kill police officers. The problem is that we have arrived suddenly into a society where people do not believe that they have to respect adults, period. And this is what happens when you have an entire generation of people who have grown up without fathers in the home. The idea of listening to any type of authority feels to them to be like an assault. Why should I have to listen to a police officer? Why should I have to listen to my teacher? Why should I have to listen to my guidance counselor? We have an authority issue in this country in terms of having basic respect. And it's not a hard request. When a police officer pulls you over, I've been pulled over, I listen to his instructions. That's the first thing. Right now, you have parents teaching people you don't have to listen to police officers' instructions if you are Black.
But when
and
we look
that is going to
right.
lead to more Black death.
When we look at a lot of these videos, we see incidences where police seem to be using excessive force, right? Now, the most extreme example is George Floyd, who lost his life. But then there's other examples where we look at the videos and we go, wait a minute, what in God's name is happening? Why are the cops doing this? Why are they sitting on a guy? Why are they cutting off his airway? Like, shouldn't cops be trained to basically get someone in cuffs and then put them in a police car and not use a lot of these techniques that they're using, whether it's a chokehold or something where you can do serious damage to somebody? Wouldn't that be good to kind of do more training? I mean, more training is not a bad idea, right? For the police.
I'm saying, when is a cop done a chokehold on somebody without asking them to first abide by basic instructions?
I understand, but
and let's use George Floyd as an example,
because
they refused to release the full tape in its entirety until it leaked to Daily Mail, some 8 months after the riots had stopped, right? He was asked to get in the vehicle. He was already in cuffs and was asked to get in the vehicle. He resisted getting in the vehicle as he was standing and was already cuffed. Said he was claustrophobic and didn't want to get in the vehicle and asked to be put on the ground, right? This is after they had gotten him from a car. So we knew he wasn't claustrophobic when he was in the car trying to get rid of his fentanyl, right? Then they try to put him in the police cruiser and he starts saying, I can't get in there, I'm claustrophobic, saying I can't breathe as he's standing up. Right. So once again, we have a situation where we're so keen to say what police officers could have done differently. What can human beings, people that are not police officers do? Follow basic instructions.
Well, we got to imagine that the job,
their instincts are not to put you in a chokehold.
Right, but the job of a cop is you're dealing with people when they're not at their best, right? Now, I have people that I know that are cops that tell me our job is if we're at a situation, you're already dealing with somebody that's not at their best. They might be drunk, they might be on drugs. They're basically, this is not the best moment of their day. And I just think that it can't be like, hey, abide by me, or the immediate next step is chokehold. there does have to be some value in de-escalation training, or we cannot stand on someone's head. I'm sure you agree with the George Floyd. You know that. Like, what they did to George Floyd was murder. It was crazy.
I mean, I agree with that. And I've said that over and over again, that it didn't have to end in that situation, even though I do feel it's important to point out that George Floyd, by his, according to his death record, he did not die from a chokehold. He died from a fentanyl overdose.
Okay, I'm sure the chokehold didn't help.
I'm sure it didn't help, but he was not restrained in a way that stopped his breathing. No,
okay.
A media misrepresentation that should be clarified.
Right.
But regardless, I don't think a police officer should be on anybody's neck for nine minutes.
Right.
And so I will agree with you on that assessment. But what I also am disagreeing with you on is the idea that this is the standard across police officers. You know what I mean? I mean, millions and millions of arrests every single year, and we're talking about 20 of them that go wrong. All right. And 9 Black men where the situation went wrong this year, down from when Obama was in office. So we're hyper focusing on an issue. 9 arrests that went wrong in all of 2019, despite 2020, despite all of these arrests. And why are we doing that? Human beings are not perfectible. So you're never going to be able to beat that amazing number of 9 going wrong. Right. And this is the reason why we know the names of every single Black person that has ended in an unfortunate circumstance with police officers, because it doesn't happen often. So we're able to know every single one of their names. And, again, I believe in personal responsibility and accountability. I think police officers are treated horribly more often than the other way around. And the data and statistics back up my point. Police officers are killed by Black men 18 and a half times more than Black men are killed by police officers. So you're putting the onus on police officers to be even nicer, even though they're 18 and a half times more likely to end up dead than the other way around. No, it just doesn't work that way.
It's a dangerous job. It's a dangerous job. And it's one of those jobs where I think, like a nurse, like I joke around about nurses now that are yelling and screaming on Facebook about how tough their job is. I get it. It's a tough job. But when you were a nurse, you also signed up for the idea that sick people were going to come into hospitals. This is part of what you signed up for. So I just feel like with cops, like they signed up for a job that was potentially deadly. It was very dangerous.
And they are not the ones complaining and protesting.
Right. All right. Yeah, she's, but listen, sometimes they complain when you ask them to, potentially, like take a look at their behavior or their culpability. I've heard cops just like reject it out of hand, but I've heard other really smart people that are police go, listen, there should be more de-escalation training, right? There should be more training. Cops should be able to use other tools other than a physical hold immediately or a chokehold or something like that. There should be more psychological training.
That immediately. I hate when people say that, because they don't do that immediately. That is not an instinct of a cop. It has not been the instinct in any of the police videos we've seen even this year to assess. It always escalates that situation after a long period of peace. Again, the George Floyd video was not 9 minutes. They were dealing with him for almost 30 minutes, trying to get him to get out of the car. Sir, can you please come out of the car? So, it's so easy to be perfect in the retrospect and to say, here's 18,000 different things you could have done. But when you're dealing with a violent criminal, especially big violent criminals. George Floyd was huge, right? Who can hurt you. The Rayshard Brooks in Atlanta. They were so nice to him. Sir, can you please get out of the vehicle? You're sleeping at a Wendy's, blah, blah, blah. Nice. Can you turn around? We're just going to cuff you, all this stuff.
Yeah,
and then what happened?
Yes, you're right about that.
Police officers. Oh, so let's look back at the tape though, Tim, and go, well, here's how they could have de-escalated.
Right. I mean, I did feel that guy was asleep in a Wendy's. That guy was asleep in a Wendy's drive-thru. Yeah, that guy was asleep in a Wendy's drive-thru, and I've been there. But when you're woken up, you just have to have the cops go. You just have to leave.